Call the meeting to order. Roll call of Alderman.
Heisler.
Here.
Kinsella. Here. Meyer. Here. Holt. Here. Anderson.
Here.
Rudgerwood.
Here.
Carpenter.
Here.
Hart.
Here.
Silsby.
Here.
Hayden.
Here.
Seibert.
Here.
Martinson.
Here.
Elmore.
Here.
Schneider. Here. Musgrove.
Here.
Arlen.
Here. All the aldermen are present. Roll call of department heads.
Police Chief Clay.
Here.
Fire Chief Langston.
Here.
Robert Sprague.
Here.
Ken Vaughn. Royce Carlisle.
Here.
Jamie Metrick. Here. Tim Gregowitz.
Here.
Jennifer Gain. Jim Schneider.
Here.
Leander Spearman.
Here.
Emily Foltz. Here. Chuck Schaefer.
Here. Ken Vaughn and Jennifer Gain are excused. Ladies and gentlemen, if you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no public hearings this evening, so at this time we'll go into public participation. If you'd like to speak, I'd ask that you raise your hand. After you're acknowledged, step up to the microphone, give your name and address, and keep your remarks to 2 to 3 minutes. Who would like to go first, if anyone? Yes, sir.
Rick Brown, 632 South Pennsylvania Avenue, Belleville, Illinois. First, I just want to quick mention, it'd be a nice idea if you guys would postpone that one ordinance you're going to vote on tonight until next month. Maybe have a public hearing to let some of the landlords put some input into it on having inspections 2, 3, 4 times a year. Somebody moves out. Main thing I'm here for is, I see the mayor's got his wife's flower shop open now on 201 West Main Street. It's really funny, just a few days ago, it was a quote from the mayor of the News Democrat. Given the outcry, Eckert said, he and his family are trying to decide what they even want to do. He said he's disappointed that some aldermen in Belleville are not pro-business. Are you kidding me? This is the most anti-business administration anywhere. You know, Buc-ee's, the coffee shop on Wascuda Avenue, Shield Street, the Hamids are suing the city of Belleville, the liquor store, Dave Threlkill. There's been hundreds of businesses where people have had to come in here and get variance after variance after variance. Now, when he was doing the flower shop, what's all the paper on the windows for, Mayor? You got something to hide in there? You had paper on there until yesterday, you know, while you guys were working in there. And, you know, welcome to Belleville. You know, you should have applied for about 12 variances on that property. You know, you make us do it. You make it all the time. One of them, the lot size is 2,673 square foot. The minimum lot size in commercial is 6,000. The lot's too narrow. It's 27 feet wide. Minimum lot width in commercial is 50. It's not deep enough. Minimum lot depth is 100 feet. He's got 99 feet. There's no 25-foot setback on the front. And just a couple of months ago, you didn't let a guy do a front porch that was to the same frontage as another guy because it wasn't 25 feet. You know, there's no 12.5-foot setback on the side. It's 0. There's the lot coverage of the property, of the building, is 100%. Where are you going to put a garbage can out there, Mayor? You can't even put a dumpster that in 2 months you're going to have to build an enclosure around. You have no ground. It's 100% covered by building. You know, you have no parking places. You're supposed to have one parking place for every 300 square feet of business area. You're supposed to have, you've got apartments there. No apartments are allowed in C2 heavy commercial anymore after you change the law retroactively. You know, there's no parking. You're supposed to have 1.5 to 2 spaces for each apartment. I count 5 meters on that place, 1 for the business and 4 for apartments. So you're short there. And, you know, just one thing after another. You get all this by, and I'll bet you anything, you've been grandfathered on every single bit of it. I'll just bet that. But we have to get a public hearing, have to wait 6 months. I wasn't even allowed to start even putting a 2x4 on the wall for a business down South 1st Street until I had the variance done. You didn't have to do anything here. Then you hire Larry Glanzer, who's the secretary of the Electrical Commission, who you give work to all the time in the city and from the city for housing inspections. He does your electrical work. What kind of a good deal did you get? I'd like to see what he did and how much you spent for it, and see if you got a terrific deal, because you gave the electricians in this a license to steal. Well, maybe that's not a good word. Rape, pillage, and plunder.
Mr. Brown, your time's up. Stuart, go ahead.
Stuart Manor, 318 South 29th Street, Belleville. On the parking situation, I drove up and down West Main and East Main about 4 or 5 times before I went up there to just kill some time. And there's a bunch of parking spaces that can be utilized. For some reason, they're just not, they can be tightened up, and you could probably get a good 10 more places in about an 8-block area if you tighten them up a bit. There's a brush pile down by Dorothy's neighbor that's been there for years, and I called the yard police dozens of times about it, and it's still there tonight. I've been hassled. I gotta go to court Thursday on my yard. I can't even see my problem until they trespass on my property and look over my privacy fence. So I've been hassled down the courthouse. This will be the 4th time. And as far as East St. Louis goes, with all the fraud, corruption, criminal activity, and millions of taxpayer money wasted or stolen or both, and with the political bosses living above a hill, I wonder if some of that fraud, corruption, and stealing isn't also going on in Belleville and the rest of St. Clair County, and should be looked into. The political leaders also going away parties for these politicians that once in a while they get caught and sent to federal prison, and all your big political bosses in St. Clair County go to see them off at a big party. And these are judges, lawyers, and politicians. And, I guess that's enough for tonight.
Yes, sir.
My name is Brian Van out of the 319 South McKinley Drive. I just want to come up and weigh in real quickly on the, you guys have a proposal right now going about videotaping all the city council meetings and making a deal with charter. You know, if the city can do it at little or no cost, I'm all for that, but I'm also for whether that gets done or not, videotaping all the meetings and recording all the minutes and putting them on the city website, if that's would be a possibility at no cost. I think it would go a long way as far as saving money for freedom of information requests. People would be able to just look on there, see what was voted on, how their representatives voted on the matter. So,
just so you know, I have our technical staff looking at several options right now, and we're going to meet later in the week with some and see what they've all discovered.
Okay, very good, thank you. And then the one other thing I'd maybe like to, maybe the council to consider, a possible resolution to introduce a limited burning period in the city of Belleville. I've never seen our community so messy as I've seen since we've instituted a burn ban. If the council would give me a number of signatures to obtain, I'll be happy to go out and get those. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is John Smoon. I live at 2200 West 8th Street here in Belleville. And I'm up here, I understand that we're going to possible ordinance about inspecting, what is it, inspecting all the, yeah, that exactly, you couldn't think of it. And I'm all for it. You got to inspect some of these houses that are like junk. We fought in my neighborhood over 10 years, we fought as people moving in. And we had a drug house, it's been years ago. We finally got that taken care of. Through the police department came over, we wrote down license plates, And then when the people left, they all stabbed our tires, they all had, and our block had to replace tires. That was taken care of. Recently, with Lindenwood buying out the property, there was a scumbag that lived in, next to Bob the barber. They had the whole family of them, and they trashed the place. They had dumpsters out there. And I like to see some of these rental property get inspected 2 or 3 times a year, because of all the, like I said, all the scumbags that live in there, ruin the neighborhood. I've lived in this town for 26 years, and you can see all the crap piled out in front of these apartment buildings that they have in the middle of the night moving out. I mean, it makes the whole town look disgusting, and something's got to be done. Now, I realize that they're there to make a profit, and I understand that. But people that live here their whole lives are tired of putting up with all these scumbags, selling dope and everything. And I like to see the city do something, you know, cleaning up whatever they got to do. You know, that's all I got.
Yes, ma'am?
Yes, my name is Maureen Morris. I live at 618 South Jackson Street, and I'd like to take us back to the end of the last City Hall meeting. January the 17th, 2012, the mayor stated that the Jackson Street apartments could not be discussed in full due to possible lawsuits. With the physical nature of this building stating, danger construction, keep out, in several areas, on the entire lot in the rear posted construction zone. Soil barrier fencing holding back mud on all 4 sides of the building. The roof still retaining water and leaking into the building. The decks in all states of temporary repair with large sections missing. And according to the city records, no permits issued for the work. Why would a city, under any condition, allow a new family with small children to move into an ongoing construction site and then claim to worry about a lawsuit? The code enforcement that is now in place is not fairly or consistently enforced, even though our ordinance say must and shall not. I am submitting tonight a copy of the Illinois State Statute, Governmental Employees Tort Immunity Act. I hope that this mayor, when he counsels with our city attorney, will pay special attention to the paragraph that states willful and wrongful conduct. As it states in this statute, as used in this act means a course of action which shows, if not intentional, shows an utter indifference or conscientious regard for the safety of others or their property. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
My name is Paul Minzer. My address is 402 Barrett Lake Drive in Swansea. I have a handout for the City Board, City Council, in regards to case number 8, CMSG LLC. I'd just like to state that our company is locally owned and operated. We live in St. Clair County, pay taxes. We're seeking a use variance at 713 Texas Avenue. The manufactured home there was acknowledged, admittedly vacant over 12 months due to limited cash flow and limited labor in my organization. We did not refurbish the home within 12 months of it being vacant. I have funds immediately available to refurbish the home and make it up to city code. I have my handout illustrates that there's not a visual impact to the neighborhood. The views that are given there, are from the neighboring street approaches, also on a 360-degree view from the home, showing that there are existing manufactured homes in the neighborhood. We also submit that during the time that the home was vacant, utilities were maintained. That would be Ameren, Illinois. Gas, electric, water and sewer was maintained through the city. Trash service was maintained and paid to the city during the time of vacancy. Our taxes obviously were paid and maintained to be current. We have a good refurbishment plan. We have comparable units in our present fleet that illustrate how clean the exteriors are and the conditions of the interior of the home. I have 12 copies of a color handout that I'd like to give to the city clerk, if that'd be okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
We'll make the other, we can make the other ones and give them, there's 16 numbers. So we'll make some more. We'll make sure we get them. If you want to keep one, if somebody wants one right now before this item comes up, you're welcome to raise your hand and come up and get one real quick. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir. Sorry, the next.
Mayor. My name is Stan Brasky. I live on South 11th Street in Belleville. Regarding the new inspection ordinance that you're going to be voting on. First of all, I'd like to agree with the gentleman in the orange here complaining about the derelict properties. We all know that they're prevalent in Belleville, and it's one of the major contributions to the decline in our home values. I'm all for inspections. I myself am a landlord. But the problem that we're addressing, I don't think is going to be solved by more inspections. I'd like to ask the lady from Ward 7 specifically what her problem was in her ward. I read in the newspaper where you had an issue.
Yes, I did, sir. I had a house that had a house sitting next to it, which was rental property. They were having parts of their shingles from the rental property into the homeowner's pool. I have pictures of where pieces of shingles from heavy winds and that, it would be stuck in the siding of the homeowner's garage. It was just a mess, and there was stuff growing on top of the roof, and I was told, and the homeowner was told it had a year inspection, and this is how this all got started, was to be able to go in.
I think you have a legitimate complaint, but I do not think that more inspections are going to solve your problem. I think the problem that we have in Belleville is irresponsible landlords as well as irresponsible tenants. And I think that your committee should go back to your table and take a closer look at just what the problem really is and come up with some solutions that will target irresponsible landlords and irresponsible tenants. And don't put the burden on all the good landlords that there are in Belleville and all the good tenants.
Thank you. Yes, sir, in the back of the room.
Good evening, I'm Kyle Anderson. I'm representing the Realtors Association of Southwestern Illinois, and I too rise in question of the ordinance increasing the number of inspections. Just a real quick note, the shingle inspection, I believe the city already has the ability to do a visual inspection on the outside. So a shingle issue could be accepted without an additional inside inspection. So with the yearly inspection, I question if the inspections weren't being done well enough, or if there's a consistent problem. I too agree that it's a renter's problem as far as being able to call the city up and say, hey, my landlord's not fixing what is wrong with the apartment. I complained to him twice. He'd come in here and fix this, he's not fixing it. The city already has the ability to go in at the request of the renter and inspect it and get on the landlord if it's not fit to be occupied. So an increased inspection, I don't believe, really is going to address it. If you guys do choose to go forward with an increased number of inspections, I ask that you reduce the additional inspections lesser than the fee of $60. I think the current inspection is $60. If you could reduce that fee the second, third time I ask each time, I could go a long way in reducing the burden on the landlord. So, we deal with these kind of ordinances across the state, so if you have any additional questions, I'd be more than happy to help. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Kevin Mouse. I live at 772 Glenmore, which is in Shiloh. I have 200 units I own here and around in Belleville. Basically, I've always thought the inspections were great. I think it holds us all accountable. I have never had any problems with them, and I believe they do thorough inspections. However, I think if we really look at this problem, I think the ones we're going to find are probably ones that haven't been inspected in 5 to 10 years. I think it'd be nice to figure out those units and when they actually have been inspected last. Maybe the landlord is paying for all the utilities and dodging it. I also think that we need to maybe consider, instead of this ordinance, maybe if there's 3 complaints against the landlord, then that should trigger an inspection. And I'm fine if they need to pay for it then. They're using up the city's time and resources. So I'd like to ask if you would maybe consider that instead of this new ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, I will close public participation. This time we will move into recognition portion of the meeting. And I would ask that Roger and Joan please would step forward. Hockney. I think we were all recently saddened a few weeks ago, but certainly understand sometimes it's time to move on in life. Can you hear okay, Linda? Okay. That Marvin's Camera had made a decision after 60 years of service to go into retirement. And I thought it was fitting before the two of you do drift off into the retirement sunset that we would pay special tribute to a business that has been in Belleville continuously for 60 plus years, like 61, almost 62 years. So I will read this proclamation that I want to present to you. Whereas in 1951, Marvin and Florence Ogney bought Belleville Photo and Supply at 315 East Main Street in Belleville, Illinois, and changed the name to Marvin's Camera Mart, where they operated as a photography developing and supply store. And whereas the second location was opened in West Belleville at Bellevue Park Plaza on 47th Street. And whereas in 1972, after the passing of Marvin Ogney in 1967, Florence Ogney closed the West Belleville location and moved the downtown business to 11 East Main Street after fire destroyed the original location at 315 East Main. And whereas Roger Ogney, son of Marvin and Florence Ogney, returned to Belleville in 1972 after his service in the United States Marine Corps, he joined his mother in the business. And whereas in 1976, Roger and Florence moved Marvin's Camera Mart to its current location at 28 East Main Street. And whereas in 1984, Marvin's Camera Mart became Marvin's Camera and 1 Hour Photo with Roger Ogney as president of the corporation. And whereas in 1992, Roger's wife Joan began working at the store and eventually became his new business partner, relinquishing her previous careers as an elementary school teacher and stay-at-home mom. And whereas in 1998, 1 year after Florence Ogney's retirement, Marvin's Camera became a Kodak Image Solution Center, one of only 150 image centers authorized by Kodak in the United States, providing a bridge between traditional and digital services. And whereas on Wednesday, February 29, 2012, at the end of the business day, and at the end of 60 years plus of photography service to their customers, owners Roger and Joan Ogney will leap into retirement to enjoy life and all it offers them. And whereas the City of Belleville and its residents and its business community, with the unique and varied services it offers, has benefited greatly from the steadfast commitment the Ogney family has demonstrated for the past 60 plus years. This is a small token of our appreciation. You've been very active over the years at times in the chamber, in Belleville Main Street. You've been very supportive of various events that occur right in front of your store over the years, and we truly appreciate and recognize the commitment you and your family, your mom, your dad, your late father. I've known your mother well since I've been a small child, and you please pass this our best regards to her as well. Thank you. So we present this to you. Joan, you would like to say anything? Thanks. might note is our commitment to each meeting post the character words that the school children are discussing and learning each and every month. This month, the words of trustworthiness and honesty. Meaning trustworthiness are in words and actions, being honest and reliable in words and actions. You see these words throughout the city on billboards, on marquees, and I think they are certainly good for all of us to follow. The next item is a presentation of plans to build the 9/11 Memorial by September 11th Memorial Walkway of Southern Illinois Committee. Sharon? Sharon Strasbaugh and Rob Anderson are two of the committee members, and they're here tonight to give us a preview.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm the vice chair of the committee to construct the September 11th Memorial Walkway of Southern Illinois, and I would like for all of the other committee's members that are present to please stand this evening and be recognized. We have a wonderful group of professionals. This is just a small part of the group. Thank you very much. On behalf of our entire committee, we'd like to thank the City Council for allowing us to present our plans tonight for a memorial to be constructed in honor of the victims and survivors of September 11th, 2001. We also thank you for your commitment to this project to date, including your approval to accept ownership of the steel column from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey in April of 2011, and for allowing the memorial to be built on city property at 1125 South Illinois Street in front of the Fire Administration offices. Tonight we're here to bring you up to date on our project, to share our plans for the memorial, and to ask the City Council's approval of those plans so that fundraising efforts and construction can begin. It began with a vision in September of 2009 when an individual's interest was sparked by an article in the September 7th edition of the New York Times. The article told of the many requests from around the country and abroad for pieces of World Trade Center steel. It became a goal in August of 2011 for a group of dedicated committee members who, after a 2-year-long application process, finally acquired the 35-foot-long piece of twisted steel from the World Trade Center. It's our plan for 2012 to bring communities, businesses, organizations, and individuals together to build the September 11th Memorial Walkway of Southern Illinois by September 2012. While many components of our plan were modeled from the National Memorial in New York, response to suggestions from our community personalized this memorial for this area. While the featured artifact is a steel column from the World Trade Center, this is a memorial to September 11, 2001, and the tragic events that occurred in New York, at the Pentagon, and on Flight 93 that fateful day. Our committee's design and construction team has developed a plan that we'll be projecting on the wall, and Rob Anderson is here this evening. We will briefly walk you through 4 slides that we have, and then we invite you to ask any questions that you might have for Rob or any of our other design team. And we'll be happy to answer those questions for you. This is the entrance plaza that we're featuring on this particular slide. It will include a parking lot behind the Fire Administration building and just outside of Ameren's fence. A pedestrian gathering area with benches and tables. An orientation kiosk, a monument sign, and a restroom facility. The second slide features the memorial walkway, which includes a timeline of events of September 11th, 2001, with interpretive stations, medallions representing the victims, and of course benches, landscaping, and lighting to feature certain elements. The memorial walkway will lead to the next slide, showing a memorial to Flight 93 and a Ground Zero artifact plaza, which features the 30-foot long column beam from the World Trade Center, concrete retaining walls around a pentagon-shaped plaza, flagpoles, a water feature, victim medallions, a time capsule, and benches and landscaping. The next slide provides an aerial view. As you can see, you would enter from off of South Illinois Street up to the right of the slide, proceed around to the parking area. The whole concept is to include the attacks on all areas on September 11, 2001, including Pennsylvania, the Pentagon, and the World Trade Center. We'd like to open it up to any questions that the City Council might have about the project.
Any questions by chance? I know they had a open house for some of the elected officials last week, and they're in the process of raising funds and trying to get this design and trying to aggressively get it constructed by next September. I saw one hand.
The names of the victims are going to be on the medallions in the concrete walkway, or is that?
Go ahead, Rob.
No, I don't think that, I think that would be a proper response for the actual site of the Ground Zero. Given our resources, each of these medallions would represent somewhere in the order of about 10 victims. And what that does is, well, you could go on to Wikipedia or any other informational site and find out what nearly 3,000 victims mean. If you walk something the length, say a football field, on each side of you, every few feet, there's a medallion. You know that represents 10 people that were affected directly and lost their lives on that day. That's something that is timeless, that you can tell your children, your grandchildren. They don't just read what that number means, how many people that means, but they feel it. And that's an experience that we want to bring.
Yes, sir.
I was thinking it's fine, but I think a better location would be in Rotary Park. That way people that are using the walking trail and the bike trail, because there's nothing in Rotary Park but a bunch of grass. There's no slides or anything anybody else, you can use. And that way the people using the walking trail and the bike trail and are going to naturally go by there, and they won't have to make a special trip out there. They can just visit it as they're going biking or walking.
Thank you. They were very diligent in looking at a lot of the already park settings, and the committee some time ago selected the firehouse location as the site.
One of the reasons that we selected that site was that the Port Authority was hoping that these memorials placed throughout the United States would be in a very visible location. And I think they were very pleased by the fact that this would be in a location where we have two state routes that intersect, 159 and Route 15.
Okay. Yes.
Has the committee considered sending a plaque or anything of gratitude to the Port Authority for sending us this?
We will be doing that. In fact, they have been sending us thank yous because they're aware of our plans, and they have been in contact with us and other communities that are building memorial sites, and we will actually be included in a national publication that is following the building of these memorials. And we've shared with them some pictures from our website. They know that our memorial is not yet built because of the plans that we have. Some memorials have already been built, much smaller memorials. So we will actually get recognition nationwide in the Southern Illinois area. And we will definitely respond with a thank you, and I'm sure we'll probably invite some of them to come on the day we dedicate.
Yes, ma'am.
As you know, I was out there the other night, I don't know if I was, but I thought of a question. Leaving there, the entrance is very hard getting in and out, and hopefully we will have lots of people coming to see this. Do you think we're going to have to maybe get a light for the traffic to get in and out of the firehouse there to 159, or some kind of, maybe another way in or out, since that is the way for the fire department to get in and out also? I mean, because if we get as many people as we're hoping to come visit this, it could get pretty congested out there with the only entrance coming in that the fire department uses also. I mean, I was just wondering if there's any plans for another entrance coming in, that, like where the water department and all that is, or are we gonna just, I mean, because that is very dangerous pulling out on 159 there, especially, you know.
I think the discussion has been that we're going to have to monitor this. If we have a service, we know that we'll have a large crowd, and then the police will assist us getting out. But on a daily basis, unless they come right at, 5 o'clock when traffic is peak, or 8 o'clock in the morning, the rest of the time, it's still pretty manageable most of the time. We'll have to monitor that and see what kind of crowds. We're not going to, what we decided is we can't anticipate and increase, literally $50,000 to $100,000 of increased expense for a traffic signal there if we could even get permission the way it's spaced, until we see what kind of crowds it brings. But we'll monitor it, that's all I can say. We do own the property in working with the water company, and it's not impossible someday, if this would become such a possibility or such a visited site, there is the possibility a road could be taken out the back to the Route 13 site for a different, exit if traffic became such a.
I'm just thinking of safety, because I know pulling out of there, I pulled out of there even in the middle of the day. And it does get
Yeah, we'll have to be
a lot
careful.
of traffic, but there is options that we could do to.
We'll have to monitor it, that's all we can say right now. Let's see this.
Suggest that there is an existing, might not be seen, the water company does have a significant volume of traffic that goes in and out of that area. So to have that pattern throughout the day would not be all too different as what exists at the moment. I know it was one of the immediate concerns in site selection was to have that conversation with the fire department and ask them what potential traffic impact would they have on their own operation.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple questions. One, would you talk a little bit about the cost of fundraising? And two, once it is completed, is it the property of the city of Belleville, or are we going to be responsible for revisiting?
It is our property right now. I mean, it's all our property. In fact, when we voted to accept the piece of steel a number of meetings ago, months ago, it was understood that this would be our property. The firehouse property is our property. I think I'll let them address the fundraising aspect.
We have a fundraising plan. I might suggest that everyone,
Let's use the mic there, Rob.
and I would have liked to invite everyone to the experience I've had this past 2 years in understanding what something like this goes from a blank sheet of paper, conversations with people, the community, and what that means. When you see one person step up to the plate, how many follow? It is one of the very unique experiences I've had where I guarantee my faith in humanity. It's been very emotional for the past couple of years to see how this comes together. And I have little doubt that our fundraising goals, while it might not be proper to delineate that explicitly, they're achievable. and we have a strong group of people dedicated to making that happen exactly.
Anybody else? Yes.
I don't have a question, Mayor. I just wanted to state to the committee, I was heavily involved years back with the memorial out in Shiloh that is there, so I certainly know the emotion that can go through. Certainly understand the use of potential public parks, but I think that the committee's choice of Firehouse 4 in relation to the number of deaths that were lost to public service in the 9/11 tragedy, mostly firemen, creates a fitting background setting as well as providing 24-hour security to the situation. And I just want to state that looking at the drawing and plans, quite astounding and moving, and I think, Mr. Chairman, I certainly would give them a round of applause for
I'll wrap things up here, but first of all, I'd like to apologize to one of our committee members, Grant Evans. I mentioned the wrong utility a while ago. I said Ameren's fence, and I apologize. It's Illinois American Water, and they've been great to work with on this project so far, and we're looking forward to continued support from them. The Port Authority received over 1,200 requests and tried to accommodate as many as possible. They limited distribution to one piece of steel to each approved applicant. We anticipate a great response to the memorial in Southern Illinois. School field trips, bus tours, individuals, and families traveling in this area will stop to honor the victims and educate each other on the event. The memorial will also be included in literature, as I mentioned before, that the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey plans to publish about the memorials constructed from World Trade Center steel. With the construction of this memorial, Southern Illinois will have a tangible piece of history. All of us in this room vividly recall that horrific day in September of 2001 when terrorists killed nearly 3,000 innocent people at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and aboard 4 hijacked planes. The events of that day marked the single largest loss of life from a foreign attack on American soil. The victims represented 92 countries. The oldest was 85. The youngest was 2.5. Generations to come will be able to experience 9/11 through this memorial, which will not only stand for the victims and the survivors, it will stand for the spirit of America that stood strong and held steadfast through the tragedy. President George W. Bush said, "Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve." On behalf of the committee, we respectfully request your approval of our plans to construct the September 11th Memorial Walkway of Southern Illinois by 2012 through our planned fundraising efforts. We thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, and there will be a vote on this in just a few moments. Okay, at this point now we go into the regular part of the council meeting. We're at the regular city council meeting minutes held from January 17, 2012. What is your pleasure?
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
We have a motion by Alderman Kinsella. We have a second by Alderman Heisler. Is there any addition or corrections? Yes, ma'am.
On page 7, the second paragraph where it's talking about streets and drains committee, it just says discussion followed. Can we expand on that a little bit on what was discussed? On page 9, where it talks about Alderman Martinson and Alderman Cybert, we were talking about the World Trade Center thing. Alderman Schneider asked a lot of intelligent questions about the insurance, accountability and things, and I would like to see the minutes reflect that. Thank you.
We would go back and listen to the tape, sometimes picking it up. They've had some problems with it. We review that. If we can make those additions, we will bring it to the next meeting. With that duly noted, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Claims, payroll, disbursements.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to have the claims, payroll, and disbursements be paid.
Motion by Alderman Anderson, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Heisler, do I hear discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Kinsella. Meyer. Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Stillsby. Hayden. Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider. Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlington.
Motion carries. Zoning Board of Appeals advisory reports.
If there's no objection, I'll read items 1 through 5 as a group. The zoning board of appeals recommended unanimously approval of those 5. Hearing none, case 1, Pasha, West Main Street Cafe, special use permit for a liquor license. Case 2, Lloyd M. Quito, special use permit for a liquor license. Case 3, Lloyd Quito, sign installation permit for areas of special control. Case 4, Michael Osborne, area bulk variance. Case 5, Ecker Flores, Inc., sign installation permit for area of special control.
I hear a motion for those first 5.
Comply as proper order to draw, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, do I hear a second by Alderman Meyer? Discussion?
Can I ask a question? On the 2 liquor licenses, when can they start selling, if this gets approved, when are they allowed to start selling? How does that work?
Well, when they have their business occupancy totally signed off, and they have their background checks, totally everything in place, which I probably, if they're here, they probably do, right, Sharon? So it's just a matter of the business occupancy, all the inspections being done, like they are for everyone. And the ordinance has to be passed tonight before they can go then and get their, they have to have their local license before they can go to Springfield and get their state license.
I've never, that's my guess.
That's the procedure, okay? Same for everyone. So we have a motion to pass 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's actually 5, but it's item number 5, case number 6. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, and with the motion, ladies and gentlemen, it would be to have the proper ordinances drawn, correct? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 6, case 8, Community Management Service Group, Series 3, asks for a use variance. The zoning board of control forwarded it to council without a recommendation.
Motion to approve the recommendation of the zoning board.
There was no recommendation, Joe.
Motion to deny.
Motion to deny. We have a motion by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Hayden. And Alderman Ward. Yes, ma'am.
Is this one we just got more information on? Can we see those pictures?
You can, you're welcome if you want one of these. We said that. We would certainly give them to you, but I just got them tonight. You can pass them on this way.
Are these different than the ones that were zoning, or is this the same package?
Emily, do you know, have you seen this? Same package that was at zoning. Yeah. Okay, so it's the same package that was at zoning. It's just that all the aldermen weren't at zoning. Some came, some might have seen it, some might have not. So. We have a motion and a second to deny. Do we have any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Yes.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Holt. No. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Yes.
Carpenter.
Present.
Hart.
No.
Stillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Present.
Schneider.
May I ask? Is I is for the.
I is to deny.
Deny. Musgrove?
Aye.
Arlen?
The ayes have it, the case is denied. City Attorney, Assistant City Attorney.
Excuse me, sir, can I ask what happened to case number 7 and case number 5?
Case number 5 is actually tabled at the zoning board. The applicant was late to the meeting, so they
Okay.
tabled it. And
Right.
then case number 7
Is
was
Ameren?
Ameren's request for a fence that was
They withdrew.
withdrawn.
Okay.
They withdrew. That happened after the next day, right, Emily? Yeah.
Thank you.
We have City Attorney, Assistant City Attorney's report that's in your packet dated January 2012. What's your pleasure? Move to be, to receive and to file. Second, motion by Alderman Meyer, second by Alderman Seibert. Question?
I have a question about 804 East Washington, about what is the status?
Well, they were told, as you might have read, that they need to have their attorney respond to Mr. Flynn, who then in turn they will go and get the court order signed to halt demolition. But the demolition, as we explained, is never totally lifted. It's to give them permission with the timeline to repair it. And we have no problem with that. They just have never gotten back with Mr. Flynn as they were instructed. Now, I think we worked that out with Mr. Betts, but this was about the third time that we've explained it. So it's...
Well, in defense of Mr. Betts, Mr. Flynn put some hoops in there, and he jumped through them, and then Mr. Flynn moved the hoops.
And Mr. Betts was explained that with thorough explanation, some of these hoops would have never been asked for. Like, for example, there was no explanation at first that there was going to be how much donated materials, how much volunteer time. That all makes a big difference. But if you're looking at a project that has this wide a scope of work, and there was, $25,000 that was felt by the inspectors, et cetera, that it couldn't be obtained. When you start to explain there's donated materials and there's quite a bit of volunteerism that takes place, then they felt that that was totally, so it's just the communication. The attorney that Mr. Betts had acquired had not timely been communicating with Mr. Flynn. And I think he agreed that that has to happen, and once that does, then this thing will be, we have no problem, but we are obligated, after as much time as we spent on this house in court, because it was deemed, for demolition by the judge, that we must make sure that something appropriately is going to follow suit. And I think once they get their timeline signed off, we're all okay with that. Okay? It's just following the rules for everybody.
Okay. Do we have the opportunity to hear from Mr. Sprague the details of some of these cases? I understand we need to discuss it in executive session, I'm not problem with that.
I would suggest that you call Mr. Sprague.
All right.
If there's a specific case that you have specific questions, that would be the easiest way.
Okay.
I think when we're talking about certain lawsuits, it's
I understand there is some confidentiality.
right. So I think you got his answer. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to receive and file the reports from the attorney and assistant city attorney. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Oral reports. We have a request from the September 11th Memorial Walkway of Southern Illinois Committee to approve the plans to build a memorial to the victims and survivors of the September 11, 2001 attack as presented at tonight's meeting just a few moments ago. I'd ask for a motion to approve their request.
Motion to approve.
Second, Your Honor.
Okay. We have them. Please raise your hand. The chief started raising his hand over here. Okay. I'll recognize Alderman Schneider and a motion, a second by Alderman Eisler to approve this motion. Do we have any discussion? Roll call.
Eisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Aye. Holt. Aye. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Selsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore. Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion approved. We now have a motion to approve a banner permit to display the banner advertising Belleville Hospital's Golf and Tennis Classic event to be held June 1st and 4th at 2012 at North Illinois Street. The banners to be the events the 1st and 4th, but the banners to be put up there at North Illinois Street entrance to the city.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Meyer, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion. All in favor of approving the hospital's banner request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve a banner permit to display the Home Builders Association banners advertising the home show at the fairgrounds to be held March 2nd through 4th, 2012 at the North Illinois Street entrance to the city. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Meyer. Second, who was the second by Alderman Seibert? Do I hear a discussion? All in favor of approving this banner request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to approve scrapping the following vehicles from the Health and Housing Department. First one is a 1999 Ford Crown Victoria. Second one is a 2001 Ford Crown Vic and a 2003 Crown Vic. All possible parts have already been removed and used on other vehicles at housing.
I so move.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion, roll call. Yes, ma'am.
It's transfer replacing.
We had them in the budget the last 2 years to get housing some new cars, and because of the tight budget, we pulled it out for the last 2 years. Now, what we did do this year, I'm trying, the budget process is just starting, I'd like to try to get them a couple 4-cylinder vehicles, better gas mileage. We did manage to pick up 3 Ford Tauruses from the police department, V6s that were being let go by them. We put a little bit of work into them, very reasonable, and we've turned them over to housing, and they were a big improvement from what we had with those old Crown Vics, so they were better on gas. So we're trying to address housing's vehicle concern, but it's all about money. We have a motion and a second to scrap these vehicles as stated in our ordinance book that we got to do to get rid of things that we own. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. Alderman Anderson.
Yes, Your Honor, on behalf of the Master Sewer Committee, I'd like to make a motion to approve the long-term control plan, pay request number 19, from Corey Luchon, Air Plumbing, and Tino Wade Morton, for a total amount of $1,256,233.21, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Anderson, and who was the second? Alderman Carpenter. Do we have discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter. Hart.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. We now ask for a motion to approve the low bid for the West Branch Library re-roof to Geisler Roofing in the amount of $65,702. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Sillsby. Do I have discussion? Alderman Hayden.
What fund is paying for this, Your Honor?
It's going to come out of TIF 3, but Jamie, jump in here. We were obligated for that weatherization grant that we got a couple of years ago. There was technically, with the match that we had to put in, there was $57,000 that was still there that had to be used for a weatherization project, that this was one of the buildings that was in their specs and qualified. The additional up to the $65,702 would come out of TIF 3. Correct, Jamie?
Right.
So that answer that?
Was that a budgeted amount, or?
The $57,000 was left in that original grant. We did not have the additional budgeted amount, but if we don't use this in a timely fashion, first of all, the total grant package would be in jeopardy. Thank you. I couldn't think of a word. And we would have to then be subject to paying back more of the grant, or that portion of the grant. Here we get to spend on an item that needs, the roof is leaking at the library. It's been leaking out there, and it needs to be addressed. It's one of our city buildings, and $57,000 of it is still in this pot that must be finished up and really dealt with as far as concluding this grant.
The library doesn't have their own maintenance fund for these types of things?
The library's fund is pretty tight, as you know, the last few years. They have been cooperative and not asking to increase the levy more than what, they have the ability to ask for more money in the levy, which could create more funding for these types of things. We have chosen, as you have heard in recent years, to not raise the levy on the taxpayers and to try to use the TIF funds to help repair our buildings. These are city-owned buildings. So it's no different than if City Hall had a roof leak. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this seems awfully high. Are we replacing all of the decking in addition to the roofing material?
It's pretty extensive. They had, what, 3 bids, Jamie? Oh, no, 9 bids. I'm sorry, I had the wrong one in mind. There was a large number of bids. Jim Taylor, St. Louis Roofing.
Right, no, but normally our bid sheet show a little bit more detail than this, so this is just giving me numbers. It's not telling me how many square foot are being done.
Well, it's the same roof. They all came out and looked at the same roof and had the same packet. I don't have it in front of me. Kenny went home sick today, so he's the director of maintenance. He was with them when they all, he can be more specific here. But they were bidding the exact same thing. It's just, some people at different times when they're...
It is a flat gravel roof, so there's no decking. It's concrete with tar and gravel.
Okay, so we're not putting a nice rubber roof on there?
It will be a weatherized roof. We're not putting the same roof we're taking off, but because of the type of roof it is, there is some expense in removing it and disposing of that material.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to add, as far as financing for the library, to possibly the library system could look into having a partnership with Lindenwood University, and possibly it could be beneficial for some type of financing for things like this.
Okay, we could certainly ask on. I mean, it's, Lindenwood's been trying to grow their library, but using our library as they get their college started, university started, so we can certainly, duly notify Leander. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Roll call to approve this bid.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Selsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. We'll fix the roof. Motion to approve a change in the parade route for the Girl Scouts 100th Anniversary Parade to be held on March 3rd, 2012 as follows. South Illinois and South 1st Street, east on West Monroe Street, north on South Illinois Street, north on North Illinois Street, west on West B Street, and north on 3rd Street to Huff Park. The new route will provide better safety for the parade participants. This is a slight change in the original one that we approved, and the police department reviewed it and asked for these changes. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Kinsella. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Martinson. Any discussion? All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Communications.
If there's no objection, I will read the three requests as a communication from DTHS District 201 requesting a street closure, police assistance, and barricade for the 6th annual Race for Character to be held on Saturday, March 24, 2012, beginning at 9 a.m. B, communication from the Orchards Easter Parade Committee requesting permission to hold their Easter Parade on April 7, 2012, and to close the parade route during the parade beginning at 10:45 a.m. They also request vehicular assistance from the police and fire departments. And third, communication from the Oktoberfest Committee of Belleville requesting permission from the City Council to have their 2012 festival on the public square on Friday, September 21 through Saturday, September 22, 2012 from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. They're also asking to close the square on Thursday, September 20 at 5 p.m. until September 23rd at 12 a.m.
Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Meyer. Discussion. All in favor? Yes, ma'am.
We did not talk about charging for any of these. Have
We,
by policy, ever charged for any of these?
well, we charge for the Oktoberfest because we
Sure.
have police
Right.
and they're working at and working towards paying 80% of their total cost. They've been trying to get their adjustments on all their volunteer groups. Archers it's virtually not a problem at all. And the 201, that road there is for 1 hour, and it's between Rusty Wagner to the high school, and it takes virtually no manpower. They set some barricades out, and Rusty Wagner is the main business affected, and he's totally in support of it. So there's virtually no other cost other than the Oktoberfest, his police and street department, which they know that we're striving to get the 80%.
Right, and I believe we talked last meeting that police and fire is gonna maybe try to come up with a policy for that.
We're looking at it now. We just met there. We're trying to get it spelled out what we're going to do with different ones. But as I told you before, up until this administration, we never charged for anything. So we're working towards this fairly. But the ones where we have a lot of police protection and where there's alcohol served and later night at night and bands and everything, we certainly have, and a lot of cleanup, paper products,
Well, clearly, there's a huge difference in Oktoberfest and Girl Scouts.
I agree. So we have a motion to approve these 3 communications. We have a second, we have a motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There's no petitions, there's no resolutions. Ordinance. We have ordinance number, we have a motion, I'd ask for a motion to read ordinance 7565. Are we voting on all these ordinances separate? Are we reading them each separate from title only, or what's the request?
Well, my recommendation, of course, is as a group.
Is there any objection to that?
Well, item J did not pass resolution or pass the first reading in the report.
I'm sorry?
Item J, it was denied. You can't vote on it.
This was passed the last meeting.
We denied.
Wait a minute, on the zoning? The loading zone?
No. Item J.
Down here, okay.
Was denied.
Your Honor, I make a motion to read by title only, but to vote on separately. I understand that some of these are similar, but ordinances are laws, and I think that when we're voting on laws, it should not be able to basically.
I just asked for your input. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only. Ordinances number 7565, 7566, 7567, ordinance 7568, ordinance 7569, hold on. Ordinance 7570, ordinance 7571, ordinance 7572, and ordinance 7573. We are omitting ordinance 7574. It's not to be read. Do I hear a motion to read by title only, that group?
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Second by Alderman Silsby. The motion was by Alderman Hayden. All in favor of approving reading those ordinances just as read by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7565, an ordinance amending chapter 52, traffic, of the revised ordinances of the city of Belleville, Illinois, as amended by amending portions or sections thereof. And it's no parking zone West Main Street south side from a point 32 feet west of the west curb line of South 18th Street to a point 20 feet east curb line of South 16th Street.
So moved, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Hayden to approve ordinance number 7565. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
I just want to point out that, Your Honor, in a recent B&D story, there was a connotation made to me in relation to supporting or not supporting loading zones in the downtown area, which I did support in both cases. But I want to point out for the record that a reference was made to this specific case. So this is not a loading zone, Your Honor, that we are approving. We're basically modifying an ordinance to give back parking that we basically took away from Fulbright because we quite honestly failed to do proper impact study about the change of the street would affect them. So I just want to note that.
It's driveway cleaners with
Right.
requested, yes. And as we
Not
told
loading zone.
Yeah,
Putting
it's-
parking back to the one.
but it was at the request of the business owner, similar situation, okay?
And to the best of your knowledge, do you believe the business owner is happy now with this?
I know the business owner's happy, and to the best of both, to explain to both of you, when our engineering staff went out there the first time, they were probably a few feet off and ended up taking that last place, his assistants, because they thought they were following the law. When the gentleman from Brightway had concerns and explained his concerns, I asked Tim Gregowitz to go back himself and reevaluate it to see if we were going to be in violation of the state guidelines. When Tim did, he found out his staff was just a little bit overzealous in creating it. By moving it back just a couple of feet, we could stay within the law, the guidelines, and still make the owner of Brightway happy, which is what we did. So that's what we're here for tonight, changing this slightly.
There was no meters then?
No, there's no meters. No, there's no meters west of probably 3rd Street anywhere in town.
I know that.
You know? Okay? All righty, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 7565, correct? Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider. Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Ordinance number 7566, an ordinance amending chapter 52, traffic of the revised ordinances of the city of Belleville, Illinois, as amended by amending portions of sections thereof. And it's for a stop sign on Mitchell Lane at Winchester.
Do I hear a motion to approve? Motion by Alderman Musgrove, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Arlen, do I have any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider. Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. Ordinance
7567, ordinance 52, traffic by amending portions of sections thereof. It's no parking loading zone North 2nd Street, west side, Monday through Saturday, at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. from a point 63 feet north of curb line on West Main Street to a point 106 feet north of curb line of West Main Street.
Do I hear a motion by Alderman Meyer, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Martinson, do I hear discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7568, an ordinance amending chapter 33, property maintenance code by amending portions of sections thereof.
Do I hear a motion?
I'm going to make a motion that, based on what we heard from the public tonight, and I have a growing concern that got brought to my attention at 5:45 tonight, that if somebody actually has a shorter lease, say 6, 8, 9, 10 months, for example, somebody from the base comes into Belleville on TDY for 3 months, and they have a lease for 3 months. Now, if we want to talk about an amendment to this ordinance that's drawn up, excluding properties that have leases less than 12 months, I guess we can open up for discussion, that's up to you. But I think I'm going to make a motion at this time, based on this, and the public's outcry, that we send this back to committee for further review another month. We're not in any hurry on this, I'm not sure.
I'm in no hurry.
I'm in no hurry. I'm going to make that motion. We just send it back to the ordinance committee for some issue resolution.
To table this tonight.
My motion is to table it tonight.
We have a motion by Alderman Elmore. Do I hear a second? We have a second by Alderman Hart. Do I hear any further discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I have an email from your office I'd like to give to, for the record. And in the paper, Mayor Mark Ecker said he has mixed feelings about.
Wait a minute. Huh? Motion to table. This is the motion to table. If you're part tabling it, present that at another time. We have a motion to table the ordinance that's on the agenda tonight. Is there any question about tabling it?
No, I just would like, we're sending it back to the ordinance and legal committee, is that correct?
And I think, in fairness, I would probably ask that Health and Housing and Ordinance would meet jointly and send it back to both committees. Would you have no objection with that?
No objection, John.
Mr.
Can
Hart?
we let the public know when and where that meeting will be held so that they are
Well,
able to?
those meetings are all advertised, but we will certainly
Right.
advertise it, put it on the website, and tell all the aldermen, so you can
Okay.
certainly tell your constituents.
Thank you.
They're not secret. They're all public.
No, but if you're trying to combine two, that.
Well, we will do that, but it'd be best if they both heard this. So, we have a motion and a second to table. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
No.
Meyer.
No.
Halt.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
No.
Hart.
Aye.
Selsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
No.
Martinson.
No.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider.
No.
Musgrove.
No.
Arlen.
No.
Okay, what do we have, Linda?
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 ayes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 noes.
I get to vote. I'm going to vote aye to send it back to committee because there was a few things. I don't have a problem making decisions, but there was a few things raised here tonight that I think we can talk about and came to my attention also. I was not the, Ms. Schneider brought this ordinance forward. And so like I said, I will vote aye. At this time, send it back to the joint committees for a little bit more review before we make a final vote.
Ordinance number 7569, an ordinance regarding case number 1, Belleville County.
Do I hear a motion to,
Motion to
wait a minute, hold it, wait a minute, did we go out of? Okay, I'm sorry, 7569. Do we have a motion? I'm sorry, Alderman Meyer? Motion to approve? And we have a second by Alderman Silsby. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Halt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz. Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Selsby. Hayden. Seibert. Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore. Schneider. Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7570, a zoning ordinance regarding case number 2, Lloyd Quito.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Motion by Alderman Carpenter, second by Alderman Seibert. Do I have any discussion? And that's case number, I'm sorry, that's the first one. 7570. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Halt. Anderson. Rudowitz. Carpenter. Hart.
Aye.
Selsby. Hayden. Seibert. Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider. Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. Next ordinance.
Number 7571, a zoning ordinance regarding case number 3, Lloyd M. Quito.
Just to specify, one was the sign, one was the variance for liquor. So everybody understands.
Second.
Motion and a second. Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Carpenter. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Halt.
Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. Case number 7572, a zoning ordinance regarding Michael, number 4, Michael Osborne.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, second by Alderman Sillsby to approve that case number of Michael Osborne. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries.
Case number 7573, a zoning ordinance regarding case number 6, Eckerd Flores.
Motion by Alderman Meyer, second by Alderman Heisler. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Sillsby.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore.
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. Ordinance, when we discontinued ordinance 7574. Unfinished and new business, I don't know of any. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask that we would be given quarterly reports made by finance on how the inventory of city property is going? We talked about changing our manner of accounting, that is required, that we inventory all city property.
All city property, you mean land, buildings, what are you talking about?
When we talk about the method of accounting we use.
Well, she's told you several times we're trying to work towards it, but
I understand that, and so I'm asking, can we have quarterly progress reports?
You can call my office any day and ask where I'm at.
I've been stalled and not given any answers. I've been told progress. I want measurable, okay, this is done, this is done, this is done. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for reports.
Okay.
And
is there a specific item you're looking for, a specific
I
area?
don't understand what's happening. If you see we're working towards it, how many more years are we going to be working towards it?
Well, we're doing it as quick as we can. We number one, as you know, we don't have a GIS coordinator, which would help a lot. Is my correct, Jamie? The GIS factors that we do not have.
The biggest issue is putting a value on all of our infrastructure that we've owned years upon years.
Which has never been done.
Right, so unless we hire a bunch of new engineers to go out and measure every street and surface and every sidewalk and every curb, or we pay for the GIS data that can do that same thing, it's gotta be done manually, and that takes a lot of time. A lot of time that our city staff currently does not have.
Because we're lean.
So then how can you tell me progress is being made?
Well, in the eyes of the auditor, we have made some steps that have been working towards compliance, but we have made it very clear that, you know, the GIS portion of this in regards to infrastructure is very time consuming. Tim's guys go work on it a little bit at a time, but you know, and a little bit in the winter time when some of the big projects aren't going. So as soon as the projects come out of the gate again, then we get stalled and we come to a halt because we're trying to do projects. So, I mean, it's, you know, if we could afford a full-time GIS person and we could afford to pay the county every year what they wanted, you know, it would be something that we could move along quicker. But it's about dollars. We're working, the auditor's been, Jamie, am I correct? They have been tolerable or understanding of the steady progress we're making, but they admit that they understand it's expensive.
Is any of this possible to do with interns?
You've got to, you know, we have used some interns in the engineering department, but there's only, you still have to have staff to supervise interns and give them direction. And like I said, with the aggressive amount of streets that the aldermen also want repaired and different things, they got a pretty full plate. I mean, if we had more people, we could get a lot of these things done. If we had more money, we would be Gatsby compliant already. Someone else had a question? Yes, sir.
Not on this, Your Honor, I just wanted to, for the public's knowledge, in claims, we approved a multitude of refund checks as it relates to wheel tax. Could we have staff give us an update of where we're at on that and how many claims were turned in and will be paid out?
Currently, our clerk's office is still processing all of the requests to verify names, addresses, amounts paid. We're probably going to issue close to 4,000 refund checks. It should amount to probably right at $100,000. As you can see from tonight's claims, there's probably been about 1/3 of them that's been processed through the check system. My staff is currently, in the time that they have between the regular daily duties, trying to process more so we can do them in small batches each month.
So if I'm correct, Your Honor, Jamie, is basically, we had an April 30th deadline, but it's staff's intention to be out before that.
That's our intent. There was two things we said when we adopted this. One, we had to give us plenty of time to make sure we had money in the bank to do it. Two, we had to make sure that with the limit, without going and paying extra money on staff to give refunds, that they had the time to do it. They're getting there, and as long as the money's holding out and we can do it, I think it's fair to say everybody's going to have their refund check way before April 30th. But it's been going as quick as we possibly can.
I think they're doing good, and I just wanted to...
I don't know about waiting for it.
Well, I know, it depends. I mean,
it's a monumental job in my office, and we don't have the staff.
We don't have the staff. We're 2 people short in the clerk's office, and they have the first stack of them to enter them before Jamie can write the checks of returning them. But we haven't held it all up until that they're all entered. She is starting to send checks out, the ones that are ready to go, and some people are starting to see their refund. So I hope that answers some of your questions. Yes?
Mr. Turner made an announcement in our committee meeting about some equipment that he bought and then decided to get. Would you explain to the whole committee how that works?
I've forgotten the exact date, but I believe November, Master Sewer, then Finance, and then the council as the whole approved the tentative purchase of a machine that would speed up the process of accepting payments, stubs, checks, and so on have to go through and the like. The agreement in the purchase was that we would get to try it for a month, and if it didn't work, then we would send it back. It didn't work, and we sent it back and spent no money.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'd like to address ordinance 7568, this unfinished business thing.
It's 7568, the problem, well, we sent it back to committee.
I'd just like to address it.
What's your comment?
I mean, I don't like a lot of government intrusion in the private sector, but this is local government, so it's more appropriate to have government provide safe environment for tenants. I don't understand what landlords are afraid of, that we will shut them down because they don't provide what the law requires in the residency. If that's the case, then they shouldn't be allowed to rent in the first place. We need to maintain a safe environment for both renters and tenants in our city. Our job as elected officials is to keep our citizens safe and our economy strong.
Anything else on our miscellaneous or new business and unfinished business, etc.?
I'd like to
Yes,
submit
ma'am.
another. I am Alderman Lillian Schneider, hereby submit and wish to be on record as to sharing the concerns as stipulated and stated in Alderman Hayden's letter January 7th, 2012. Notarized letter submitted to the City Council on January 17th, 2012 and entered into the record. Thank you.
Give that to the city clerk. We have a motor fuel claims in the amount of $10,233.47. What's your pleasure?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Martinson. Any discussion on the motor fuel claims? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer. Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden.
Aye.
Seibert.
Aye.
Martinson.
Aye.
Elmore. Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. I ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of the city council to talk about personnel litigation and property acquisition. I hear a motion. Motion by Alderman Consilla, second by Alderman Meyer. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to go into executive session, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in regular session. And as on the agenda, I'm asking for a motion to approve, the council approve allowing the mayor to bring back to this council a proposal from Carl Otteson, who is an attorney that we have used in the past to help assist us with negotiations of the police contract, which has been up for some time, and the upcoming fire contract, if necessary, which expires April 30th. We've used Mr. Otteson before. This motion would agree to start the ball rolling, to contact him, and to bring back to this council an official contract that I would bring to you at the next meeting. But there is evidence that we're going to need his professional services. So at this time, I ask for a motion to approve what I just read. Motion, who said so moved? So moved by Joe Arlett. Do you have a question? Or? And we have a second by Alderman Schneider. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Holt. Anderson.
Aye.
Rudowitz. Carpenter.
Aye.
Hart.
Aye.
Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. Martinson. Elmore. Schneider.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Arlen.
Motion carries. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Motion by Alderman Meyer, second by Alderman Anderson. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?